The hour has struck, and you must hear this with urgency burning in your heart. Every voice, every shadow, every weapon that rose to silence your destiny has reached its final breath, for I, the Lord, have spoken and shattered their grip over your life, and no enemy can rise after my decree. No plot can survive the fire of my command. No accusation can stand when my verdict has gone forth, for I have announced their end with the authority of heaven, and the sound of my declaration is louder than their whispers, stronger than their chains, greater than their threats, and right now, even as you hear me, invisible barriers are crumbling, the atmosphere is shifting, and the ones who rejoiced over your silence are trembling because their season is over. Their power is cut off, their weapons are rusted and useless, their voices are muted, their thrones are overturned, their hiding places are exposed, and you must not doubt this moment because my decree is not delayed. It is not postponed. It is not waiting for their approval. It is executed instantly by the armies of heaven, and you will feel the release in your spirit, in your steps, in your breath, because the heaviness that sat on you like a cloak is being lifted. The shadows that crept into your nights are scattering before my light. The weight of intimidation that pressed on your chest is being torn away, and the world will see that I am the one who has risen to defend you. For I did not call you to be silenced. I did not form you for defeat. I did not raise you for shame. But I planted my word in you as a fire that cannot be extinguished, and I will not allow what I started to be swallowed by the plans of darkness. So take this as a command. Lift up your head. Breathe deeply. Stand firmly, because this battle is no longer in your hands. I have seized it. I have declared the end. I have executed the judgment, and the adversary has no more ground to stand upon, no more air to breathe, no more strength to pull against you, for their power has been snapped like a twig underfoot. Their teeth have been broken, their threats have been silenced, their altars have been overturned, their gatherings have been scattered, their strategies have failed, and now your voice, the very voice they tried to bury, will rise like a trumpet. Your steps will march like an army. Your life will shine like a torch, and no one will be able to cover what I am releasing in you, because I have marked you with unstoppable breakthrough. And this declaration is not a suggestion. It is not a possibility. It is a finished verdict sealed in my blood, enforced by my angels, and it will not return void. So pay attention, beloved, for I am dismantling the powers that drained you, stripping away the coverings they wore to appear strong, ripping apart the cords they used to tie you, and the sound of freedom is echoing through your atmosphere, shaking walls, shaking doors, shaking foundations, until nothing remains of their influence, for the end has come. The sentence is carried out, and you are stepping into a space where their grip cannot follow, their laughter cannot mock, their chains cannot bind, their shadows cannot linger, because I have spoken once and forever that it is over for them. And when I say it is over, nothing in heaven, nothing in earth, nothing in hell can reverse what I have decreed. And now, as the echo of my decree shakes through the unseen realms, look carefully, for everything that once seemed immovable before your eyes, everything that towered above you like an iron wall, everything that positioned itself as a giant to intimidate your courage is collapsing, not by human strength, not by earthly hands, but by the crushing weight of my living word that goes forth like thunder and refuses to return empty. For every arrogant structure that exalted itself to block your advance is bending, cracking, and falling into ruins. Every fortress they thought would outlast your prayers is disintegrating into dust. Every monument they erected to their schemes is crumbling under the force of my decree. And as their high places fall, you will notice how the landscape around your journey is changing. For the mountains that mocked you are melting, the towers that overshadowed you are tilting, the barricades that kept you from stepping into fullness are being overturned. And while they once believed their height gave them security, they now realize that no height can withstand the authority of my voice. Because I am not speaking as man speaks, I am thundering as the Eternal One whose command shaped creation, whose breath sustains galaxies, whose whisper shakes nations. And when my word leans upon the structures of darkness, they cannot remain standing. They shiver, they crack, they fall apart. And this very moment the sound of their downfall is resounding. Though you may not see the full ruin yet, trust that the process is already complete in the spiritual order, and soon your eyes will watch what your spirit already knows. For I am pulling down the proud, overturning the lofty, dismantling the hardened systems that pressed you low, and while they thought they would watch you collapse, they are the ones watching their own foundations betray them. Their own towers betray them. Their own alliances betray them, because I have commanded the earth itself to rise against their plans. I have spoken to the winds to scatter their efforts. I have ordered the ground beneath them to tremble until their stability is lost. And you, my child, will walk through the rubble of what once looked indestructible, stepping over the remains of obstacles that once threatened to consume your hope, and in that hour you will understand that nothing, no matter how massive, no matter how intimidating, can resist when I release the weight of my word against it, for my utterance is not a gentle suggestion but a force more unshakable than stone, more consuming than fire, more devastating than flood, and I am unleashing it on your behalf because you remained when others doubted, you believed when others mocked, you stood when others scattered, and now I am answering your persistence with a sweeping collapse of every adversarial height, and the noise of this collapse will not only free you, it will announce to many who doubted you that my hand has been with you all along, for they will see your path opening through ruins. They will see doors emerging where walls once stood. They will see streams flowing where drought once reigned, and they will confess that only my voice could have done this. Only my authority could have broken what they thought eternal. Only my word could have demolished what generations said was permanent. And you will not only witness this fall, you will inherit the land cleared by it. You will occupy the space made open through it. You will rise from the ashes of what intimidated you. And you will testify without fear that what once stood tall is no more, for my word has struck it down, and my decree has made your breakthrough undeniable. As the dust of fallen towers fills the air, hear me, for this is the moment where you will see barriers that held you back split apart with violent force, because I have gone before you to strike at the very entrances that were locked tight against your advancement, and those iron gates that once mocked you with their weight and their bolts have been broken from their hinges, twisted beyond repair, shattered by the authority of my command, and no hand, no counsel, no authority, no enemy will ever have the strength to rebuild what I have already destroyed, for the entryways they guarded so fiercely are now lying in pieces at your feet, and you will walk across fragments of bronze and shards of iron that can never be reassembled again, because I am not merely opening them for a season, I am obliterating them for eternity, so that you may pass without fear of them slamming shut again, and as you step forward, the very places that were once impenetrable will suddenly stand wide open, pathways that seemed sealed for generations are stretching before you. Corridors hidden from your sight are unfolding, and those who thought they could control your access are watching helplessly as their keys vanish into nothing, their authority stripped, their power rendered useless. For I have removed the hinges, burned the bolts, crushed the locks, and scattered the ashes into winds they cannot gather back, and now you will walk with confidence, for every door they sealed to keep you out is gone, every blockade they reinforced to delay you is gone. Every stronghold they protected to deny you is gone, and nothing they attempt can bring back the structures I have flattened. Nothing they rebuild can stand where my fire has consumed. Nothing they create can last when my judgment has erased the foundation, because when I shatter, no hand can restore. When I strike, no one can resist. When I close for your enemies, they cannot open, and when I open for you, no one can close. And this hour marks the permanent tearing down of restrictions placed on your life, the final end of resistance that sought to keep you on the outside, and even as you wonder if it is real, I say look around, see the ruins of those barriers, see the smoke of their collapse, see the clarity of the way before you, for I have made sure that you cannot be shut out again, you cannot be locked away again, you cannot be restrained again, because the gates are not just unlocked, they are shattered. The walls are not just weakened, they are crumbled. The doors are not just open, they are destroyed. And your future is no longer waiting behind barricades. It is unfolding before you in wide spaces, clear horizons, and unshakable promises. And those who swore you would never enter will stand astonished as they watch you pass through ruins they cannot rebuild, ruins that will remind them of my unstoppable hand, ruins that will testify that I was the one who fought for you. And in those ruins you will not see loss but evidence of victory, not destruction but the end of captivity, not ruin but the start of freedom. Because I did this not only to let you through, but to make sure they can never trap you again, and your steps will no longer hesitate at locked doors. Your heart will no longer fear denied access. Your faith will no longer shake at rejection, because you now know that I have shattered what resisted you, and no power in heaven or earth can gather the pieces to rebuild against you again. And as you now stand in the ruins of what once locked you out, I tell you this with urgency burning in my voice. Every person who ridiculed the length of your waiting season, who sneered at the slowness of your progress, who whispered that your prayers were wasted, who laughed at your patience as if it was weakness, will be forced to watch a sudden acceleration they cannot comprehend, because I am lifting you with a swiftness that no human timeline can measure. I am propelling you into places that once seemed unreachable, and the very mountains that mocked will tremble as they see you elevated beyond their reach. For I am causing a reversal so rapid that eyes will struggle to keep up with the unfolding, and where you once endured delay upon delay, you will now move with momentum unstoppable, and the tables they thought would never turn are flipping overnight. The stories they twisted against you are unraveling before their eyes. The laughter that wounded you is turning into silence filled with awe, because I am bringing your rise in such speed that it will become undeniable evidence of my hand upon you, and their gossip will be drowned in the sound of your advancement, their disbelief swallowed by the reality of your testimony, for while they assumed your waiting meant abandonment, I was building depth in you that could sustain the velocity I am about to release, and now the acceleration begins. A movement so fierce that those who ridiculed your slowness will be stunned at how quickly you surpass them, how swiftly you ascend where they thought you would never reach, how suddenly you emerge from obscurity into visibility, and they will be unable to explain it, unable to stop it, unable to deny it, because it will not be the work of man. It will be the evidence of divine acceleration, and you will see with your own eyes the shock upon their faces as the one they mocked for waiting is the one who rises in moments where they expected nothing. For I am making your ascent a sign, a demonstration that I honor faithfulness, I reward endurance, I respond to trust that lingers through delay, and those who ridiculed you will witness that every second of waiting was storing power for this sudden thrust, every minute of delay was gathering force for this rapid elevation, every season of hiddenness was preparing the platform for this undeniable manifestation. And I am saying to you now, do not shrink when the speed overtakes you, do not fear when the pace increases, do not question when doors fly open faster than you imagined, because I am controlling this rise. I am guiding this surge. I am sustaining this momentum. And though they may shake their heads in disbelief, you must walk boldly. You must stand firmly. You must declare loudly that this is my doing, for the very people who use your patience as their joke will soon have no choice but to admit that I was with you all along, and you will not even need to defend yourself. You will not need to argue. You will not need to prove, because your rising will speak louder than their words, your testimony will silence their laughter, your speed will erase their memory of delay, and you will move in such suddenness that they will realize the danger of mocking what I had chosen to prepare. For I am turning the tables not just for your sake but to demonstrate that I vindicate those who trust me, and you will rise not in gradual steps but in leaps that defy natural order, and every eye that once rolled in mockery will now widen in astonishment, because the waiting they despised has become the fuel for the speed they cannot stop. And I tell you with urgency, the season of ridicule is finished. The season of acceleration is here, and those who laughed at your patience will be spectators of your swift ascent that cannot be slowed, delayed, or denied. And as your sudden rise shakes the very ground beneath those who once ridiculed you, know this with urgency. All the schemes that were woven in secret chambers, all the strategies plotted in silence to trap your steps, all the hidden agendas that seemed invisible are now being ripped out of their cover and pulled into the brightness of my presence, where no deception can survive. For I am the one who sees what is whispered in shadows. I am the one who exposes what is scribbled in the dark. I am the one who reveals what is buried beneath lies. And in this hour I am dragging into light every blueprint designed against your destiny. And as it comes into view, its power will vanish, its intimidation will dissolve, its influence will collapse, because darkness thrives only when it is hidden. But once it is uncovered, once it is revealed, once it is brought into plain sight, it loses every ounce of strength, and so you will begin to notice sudden revelations. You will hear confessions you never expected. You will see truths surface that were buried for years, because I am tearing veils and forcing what was concealed to be displayed before you. Not so that you tremble, but so that you know nothing escapes my watch. No plan goes unseen. No detail is overlooked. And as these exposures unfold, you will recognize how I have been protecting you all along, shielding you from traps you didn't even realize were set, dismantling assaults before they could reach you, destroying contracts before they could bind you. And while they thought their secrecy guaranteed success, I have already made their silence their downfall, for they cannot hide what I choose to uncover, and they cannot withstand the blaze of my light when it floods their carefully built darkness. And this exposure will not only strip their power, it will also vindicate you, because what they accused you of will bounce back on their own heads. What they plotted in their hearts will be read aloud for all to hear. What they whispered in secrecy will be shouted in open spaces, and in that moment their influence will scatter, their confidence will collapse, their alliances will dissolve, because no one trusts a builder whose blueprints are revealed. No one follows a leader whose lies are exposed. No one stands behind a plan that is crumbling in front of their eyes, and you will walk freely, unafraid of their traps, unconcerned about their plots, because the very act of bringing it into light ensures its defeat, and your enemies will gnash their teeth in frustration as they watch their carefully hidden snares lying exposed and useless before your feet. And I say to you now, do not be shocked by what comes to surface. Do not be afraid when secrets spill. Do not be shaken when darkness is revealed, because it is not against you, but for you. It is not meant to terrify, but to free. It is not meant to shame you, but to strip shame from you. And you will stand stronger as each hidden thing is brought into daylight. And as I drag their weapons out of hiding, you will see how fragile they always were, how weak they truly are, how easily they collapse when my glory touches them. And this will remind you that I am not only your defender in open battles, but also in secret wars. I am not only your shield in visible storms, but also in invisible ones. I am not only your protector when you see danger, but also when you cannot see it. And this knowledge will anchor your confidence, because you will know that nothing escapes my sight, and every dark scheme is already doomed. For when I decree exposure, no one can cover it again. And when I command revelation, no one can silence it again. And this season will be marked by unveiling after unveiling, revelation after revelation, until nothing remains hidden, and all who fought against you are stripped of the illusion of power, standing bare before truth they cannot deny. And you will walk forward unafraid, because light has won, and darkness has no voice where I have chosen to shine. As the flood of light strips every hidden scheme of its power, feel what is happening around you now, for the restraints that clung to you like iron around your ankles are breaking apart with a sound that shakes the air. Every link forged to keep you stuck in endless cycles of postponement is snapping one by one. Every restraint that held you in patterns of waiting without motion is falling to the ground. And you must recognize this moment with urgency, because you are being released into movement that cannot be slowed again. For the season of immobility has ended. The time of circling the same ground is finished. And where you once felt like your steps were heavy, dragging against resistance you could not explain, you will suddenly notice lightness in your walk, swiftness in your progress, clarity in your path, because I am breaking apart the devices of delay that were crafted to drain your strength and exhaust your patience. And what once consumed years in stagnation will now give way to swift advancement. What once required endless struggle will now open without resistance. What once kept you waiting with no explanation will now turn into rapid fulfillment. For I have declared that chains of delay have no more authority over you. And you must not treat this as a small shift, because what is happening is monumental. I am resetting your timeline. I am redeeming lost years. I am restoring wasted opportunities. I am realigning what was stolen by obstruction, and you will see how I compress time in your favor, turning what seemed impossible into reality with a speed that cancels regret, because I am not only breaking the chains but also pushing you forward into the momentum they once denied you. And every area of your life where you were bound by hesitation, by resistance, by confusion will suddenly find release, for the bonds are shattered beyond repair, and no hand can refasten what I have destroyed. And you will realize that your waiting was not in vain. For even though the chains seemed to bind you, I was building within you endurance to carry the acceleration that is now beginning. And as you move, you will not stumble. As you advance, you will not fall. As you surge forward, you will not be overtaken by fear, because I am orchestrating this release with precision, and no obstacle can arise to slow what I have set in motion. And your adversaries will look on in dismay as the one they thought would never escape stagnation is suddenly running with force they cannot keep up with, and their confusion will only increase as they see you passing every limitation they tried to place upon you. For their tools of delay are lying broken at your feet, powerless to hold you again, and the sound of their snapping is a sign to you that my hand is breaking barriers not just around you but within you, shattering doubt, tearing down hesitation, silencing fear, so that you move with boldness you have never known before. And when you look back, you will see that every step that felt wasted under the grip of delay has actually been redeemed. Every year that seemed lost has been folded into the acceleration now carrying you forward. And I say to you, move. Do not stand still. Step boldly into what I have cleared, for the time of hesitation is over. The season of waiting without reason has ended, and the chains that fastened you to delay are broken forever, releasing you into unstoppable forward motion. And now that the chains of postponement lie shattered at your feet, sense the shift that is overtaking you. For what you once looked toward as a far-off hope, what you once believed was reserved for another time, another season, another chapter, is suddenly leaning into your present moment with unstoppable force, because your breakthrough is not waiting at the horizon any longer. It has stepped into your now, pressing itself into the very atmosphere around you, breaking through barriers of time, crushing the distance that seemed to stretch endlessly between you and fulfillment. And you will notice how quickly circumstances bend, how rapidly conditions align, how swiftly opportunities unfold. For the things you used to only envision in prayer are appearing before your eyes with undeniable clarity. The things you only carried as expectation are arriving as reality, and the doors that once seemed so far down the road are now standing in front of you wide open, inviting you to step through, and this urgency must grip you. Do not treat this moment as though it is still far away. Do not continue to wait as if nothing has changed, because what you longed for has entered your today. And hesitation now would be as dangerous as delay once was. For I am accelerating the timetable. I am compressing the years into days. I am squeezing the distance into steps you can take now, and your life will feel the weight of my promise resting in your present, pressing against your decisions, calling you to act, pushing you to move, urging you to receive without doubt. And those who assumed your breakthrough was a dream will be silenced when they see it manifest in undeniable form before them. Because this is the hour where the invisible becomes visible, where the unseen becomes tangible, where the whispered assurance becomes concrete evidence, and nothing can push it back into the distance again. For my decree has brought it here, my authority has planted it in your midst, and no hand can remove it, no enemy can block it, no delay can steal it, and you must walk with confidence knowing that the time is not coming, the time has arrived. The waiting is not extending, the waiting is completed, and you are standing in the very fulfillment you once only carried in faith, and you will marvel at how seamlessly it overtakes you, how naturally it unfolds, how suddenly it feels as though it was always meant to be here, because I have orchestrated every detail to align perfectly in this moment. And you will understand that while you thought it was late, it was actually right on time. While you thought it was distant, it was actually closer than you knew. While you thought it was unreachable, it was actually being drawn toward you by my hand. And now it collides with your reality. Now it presses against your life. Now it enters your present, undeniable and unstoppable. And I say to you with urgency, embrace it. Do not resist it. Step into it boldly. For this is not a promise postponed, but a promise realized. Not a vision deferred, but a vision alive. Not a word waiting, but a word fulfilled. And as you live in this unfolding, you will know with certainty that I am faithful, I am timely, I am precise, and I have brought your breakthrough from the distance straight into your now. And as your breakthrough presses fully into your present, understand this crucial truth with urgency. I have placed upon your journey a seal that no rival can tamper with, no challenger can peel away, no force of earth or hell can interfere with, for it is stamped by my authority and fixed with permanence that no hand can undo. And this seal is more than a mark of approval. It is the decree of heaven that your course is consecrated, your movement is protected, your steps are guaranteed, and the path before you is cleared not by chance, not by effort, not by influence, but by the sovereign power of my command. And you will notice how obstacles that once seemed immovable now withdraw at your approach, how opposition that once braced itself with determination now flees before you, how resistance that once thrived on intimidation now loses every ounce of its ground, because the seal upon you is recognized in realms beyond sight, respected in dimensions beyond human control, feared by powers that once sought to hinder you. And because I have sealed this way, nothing can contaminate it, nothing can block it, nothing can poison it, nothing can twist it, for I have decreed it to remain pure, open, unshaken, and straight, and you will walk forward with a confidence born not of pride but of assurance that my authority has gone ahead of you, sweeping away interference, scattering adversaries, silencing detractors, and while others wonder how you move so freely, how you advance without hindrance, how you rise without collapse, you will know it is because my hand has written across your journey, untouchable, secured, protected, and this inscription cannot fade, cannot be erased, cannot be stolen, for it carries the weight of eternal decree. And even when voices attempt to challenge you, even when systems try to corner you, even when forces gather to intimidate you, they will fall to the moment they collide with the seal. They will stumble the moment they face the authority guarding you. They will collapse the moment they realize that I myself have cleared the way, and your role is no longer to struggle against constant resistance but to walk with courage into the space I have opened, the opportunities I have secured, the destiny I have sealed. And you must not look back in fear. You must not doubt with hesitation. You must not shrink with uncertainty. For the seal ensures permanence, the authority guarantees continuation, the clearing assures completion, and you are not advancing in guesswork but in certainty. For I have spoken and it stands. I have marked and it remains. I have sealed and it endures. And you will begin to see testimonies flow with rapid frequency because nothing can block what has already been sealed in your favor. And no matter how hard they try, no matter how many gather, no matter how fierce the opposition grows, their hands will slip, their words will fail, their strategies will dissolve, because the seal burns against every attempt to alter it. And my authority establishes it with fire that no water can quench, with strength that no force can weaken, with permanence that no age can erode. And as you advance, carry this awareness. You are not moving through chance but through decree, not through permission of men but through the command of heaven, not through fragile access but through permanent clearance. And this knowledge will steady your feet, lift your head, anchor your faith, and remind you continually that when I place my seal, it is final. When I declare your way open, it remains open. When I clear your path, it stays clear. And this is your assurance. Your journey is sealed. Your progress is unstoppable. Your destiny is secured, because I have marked it with my authority, and no opposition has the power to remove it. And now, with the seal of my authority still blazing over your pathway, open your eyes and watch, because I am beginning to act with a speed that will shock even those who love you. Every judgment, every label, every pronouncement that men or systems have issued to confine you is being reversed in an instant under the force of my righteous decision, and verdicts that once seemed to carve in stone are already cracking under my hand like brittle clay. Orders that were issued to limit your access are dissolving like smoke before rushing wind, and words that condemned you are being rewritten before they can even echo. For my justice moves without hesitation. It does not crawl behind bureaucracy. It does not pause for permission. It does not bow to fear. And as I move, you will begin to feel invisible barriers of accusation break apart. You will sense invisible chains of unfairness fall away. You will hear news that surprises you. You will watch paperwork vanish, doors reopen, opportunities restored, because I am not only canceling judgments but also overturning the power behind them, stripping authority from those who misused it, disarming the influence of those who acted without truth. And this hour will reveal that no human ruling is final when I step into the courtroom of heaven. No earthly decision is ultimate when I rise as your defender. No decree written against your future can survive when I speak as judge over your destiny. And as this happens, you must stand ready to step into spaces that once said no to you. For their no has been nullified by my yes. Their denial has been drowned by my acceptance. Their rejection has been replaced by my welcome. And you will see how quickly circumstances shift, how rapidly minds change, how suddenly outcomes swing in your favor. Because my justice is like a flood that breaks dams, like a hammer that smashes gates, like a wind that tears down barriers, and it will not be delayed. It will not be hindered. It will not be slowed. And you must believe me when I say that nothing spoken falsely over you will remain hanging above your head. I am wiping it away. I am reversing it. I am rewriting it, and those who once sat in judgment will sit in silence, unable to speak, unable to resist, unable to explain how the tide turned so fast. For I will make it obvious that this was not human maneuvering but divine intervention. And you will not need to fight to prove yourself. You will not need to campaign to clear your name. You will not need to argue for your place, because my justice will do what your words could not. My verdict will accomplish what your efforts could not. My speed will achieve what your plans could not. And this will become a sign to you that I am not only a God of promise but a God of execution, not only a God who speaks but a God who acts, not only a God who sees but a God who intervenes. And every area of your life where unfair decisions have been hanging like shadows will now burst into light, exposing the emptiness of those pronouncements and displaying the strength of my ruling. For I have taken the gavel out of their hands and placed it in mine, and my gavel never misses, never falters, never delays. And as I bring this swift reversal, you will step into freedom without fear of backlash. You will walk into open ground without dread of another trap. You will breathe deeply without heaviness, and you will know with certainty that my justice, once set in motion, cannot be delayed, cannot be appealed, cannot be undone, for it moves like lightning and finishes what it begins. And you are standing right now at the edge of that lightning strike, about to feel the full release of its power. And as my swift justice overturns every false verdict that was spoken against you, prepare yourself, because the very mouths that once poured out ridicule at the sound of your petitions will now be shaken when they see the evidence of what I have done for you. For those who dismissed your cries as wasted breath, who rolled their eyes when you whispered my name, who mocked your persistence in secret or in public, will find themselves trembling as your life becomes the undeniable proof that I hear, I answer, I move, I deliver. And the testimony rising from your journey will pierce deeper than any argument you could ever speak, because it will not be formed of words alone but of visible results, tangible victories, undeniable manifestations. And the sight of your transformation will silence every scoffer, cut through every skeptic, humble every cynic. Because what I am releasing through you cannot be debated, cannot be reasoned away, cannot be ignored. And the same prayers they laughed at will become the very foundation of your testimony that convicts them of their error. And they will feel fear as they realize they stood against not just you but the God who walks with you. And while once their laughter filled the atmosphere with arrogance, now their silence will fill the atmosphere with awe, because I am turning the story in such a way that they will not be able to deny that it was my hand. And you must be ready for this, because your testimony is not only for you but for nations, for communities, for families who doubted, for neighbors who questioned, for acquaintances who assumed nothing would ever change. And as the evidence unfolds, they will see that what you prayed was not foolishness but faith, not weakness but strength, not fantasy but divine alignment. And the trembling that overtakes them will not come from fear of you but from the recognition that they mocked what was holy. They laughed at what was eternal. They ridiculed what was true, and I am using your testimony as a weapon that silences their arrogance, as a beacon that awakens their conscience, as a mirror that reveals their blindness. And this will not come in small ways but in undeniable magnitude. For the very areas they mocked you in will become the loudest arenas of your testimony. The very things they laughed at will become the very things I elevate. The very weaknesses they ridiculed will become the very strengths that shine. And they will tremble not because you fight them back but because I vindicate you openly, because I display my power through you so clearly that their mocking words dissolve into fear. And this trembling will spread beyond individuals to entire circles. Entire groups who joined in laughter will now whisper among themselves in unease. Entire systems that mocked will now look on in respect. And this will remind you that nothing invested in prayer is wasted. Nothing whispered in faith is lost. Nothing surrendered to me is ignored. For I take every word and turn it into a seed that grows into a testimony too large to be hidden. And now is the time when those seeds break forth. When those testimonies rise. When the fruit of your petitions appears. And it will not only bless you but confront those who once belittled you. And the urgency I speak with now is this: do not shrink back from sharing, do not hide what I am doing, do not silence your own voice for fear of their response, because your testimony is not about defending yourself but about exalting me. And as you declare what I have done, they will tremble because they will know they cannot argue against it. And in that trembling some will bow in repentance, some will seek mercy, some will fall silent in awe. and all will know that I am the Lord who hears the cries of my children and answers with power that turns ridicule into reverence. And as your testimony rises and strikes fear into those who once mocked, lift your eyes, because you will now witness something greater. The very thresholds that were shut against your progress, the very entrances that were sealed to block you out, the very spaces you once stood before and heard only the sound of rejection, I myself am now standing before them, and my hand is upon the handles, and my voice is commanding them to open wide for you. For no longer will you be denied by the locks of men. No longer will you be halted by barriers fashioned by systems. No longer will you be delayed by structures built to keep you out, because when I take my place before a door, no opposition can resist, no chain can endure, no bolt can hold, and as I swing these doors wide, you will step through with ease, not in fear, not in begging, not in uncertainty, but in confidence that it was I who opened them, I who cleared them, I who positioned you for this moment. And you will know this because doors you once pressed against with all your strength yet never moved will now fly open without you lifting a finger. Places you once dreamed of entering yet felt disqualified from will now call your name. Opportunities that once seemed impossible to touch will now invite you in. And you will recognize that it is not because of your striving but because of my intervention. For I am the doorkeeper who controls access. I am the one who determines who enters and who is barred. I am the sovereign who holds the keys of David. And when I unlock, no one can close, and when I shut, no one can pry open. And in this season I am opening doors that have generational significance, doors that will change the trajectory of your life, doors that will alter the story of your family, doors that will influence nations, and you must walk boldly through them, because I am not opening them for curiosity but for fulfillment, not for observation but for occupation, not for glimpses but for possession. And those who thought they had final say over your access will be left powerless, watching as I bypass their control, ignoring their resistance, overriding their decisions. For my authority trumps every earthly decree, and the doors I open for you are not fragile or temporary but secured by my word, anchored by my will, and protected by my angels. And as you step through them, you will find not emptiness but abundance, not illusion but reality, not disappointment but fulfillment. For I do not open in vain. I do not invite you into spaces that collapse. I do not usher you into rooms that fail, but I prepare environments that are rich, assignments that are clear, territories that are ready for you. And the urgency I press into you now is this: do not hesitate at the threshold. Do not question your worthiness. Do not doubt your readiness, because I would not be standing to open if you were not prepared to enter. I would not swing wide these gates if I had not already equipped you to carry what is inside, and you must walk forward knowing that the one who stands opening is the one who sustains you beyond the entrance. The one who ushers you in is the one who empowers you to remain. The one who clears the way is the one who keeps you in the place of promise. So trust that as I open these doors, I also secure your future within them, and this moment will silence every voice that once said you would never enter. For they will watch the doors yield under my touch. They will watch the gates bow under my decree. They will watch the barriers crumble under my presence. And they will know that it was I, the Lord your God, who stood before the locked places of your life and opened them wide for you to walk through. And as you step through the openings I myself have swung wide, notice what is happening behind you even now. The power that once seemed to fuel those who oppose you is draining away like water leaking from a broken vessel. The inner supply that fed their confidence is drying up under my intervention. The invisible currents that enabled their pressure against you are evaporating at my command, for I have reached into the roots of what supported them and snapped it. And though they may still appear loud on the surface, their foundation is crumbling underfoot, their momentum slowing to a halt, their reach shrinking back into nothing, because my hand has not merely blocked their actions but dismantled their source, striking the hidden reservoirs they relied on, scattering the networks that propped them up. And you will see the visible signs of this weakening begin to manifest. Plans delayed, voices silenced, alliances breaking apart, resources disappearing, doors closing to them even as doors open to you. And you must understand that this is not coincidence, but consequence, the inevitable result of my judgment on structures that tried to crush you. For I do not merely remove a weapon while leaving the arm that wields it strong. I go to the heart of the matter and wither the root so the tree cannot sprout again. And as their strength decays, you will sense a new ease in your steps, a new lightness in your spirit, a new clarity in your decisions, because you are no longer moving under the weight of their pushback but in the freedom of my protection. And where once you had to brace yourself against their force, you will now find yourself advancing without resistance. And the same individuals who once stood tall like giants will appear small and unsure. The same systems that once looked impenetrable will look fragile and empty. The same voices that once boasted will falter mid-sentence, for my hand has struck not their appearance, but their lifeline, and without that supply their power fades like a shadow at noon. Their influence dries like dew in heat, their posture collapses like paper in fire, and this is your assurance that they cannot rise again in the same way, because the sustaining source has been removed. The secret fuel has been drained. The hidden scaffolding has been torn down, and although you will see them try to stand, they will find nothing to stand on. Try to speak but have nothing to say. Try to gather but have nothing to hold, and this will become a sign to you that I am thorough in my deliverance, complete in my defense, decisive in my action. For when I strike, I do not leave a remnant of bondage behind to rebuild. I annihilate what fed it. I dismantle what upheld it. I destroy what nourished it, so that you can walk forward without fear of a resurgence, without dread of another ambush, without anxiety of another cycle, and you will learn to move with calm authority, not glancing back at what is weakening, but keeping your eyes ahead at what I am building, because behind you the oppressor's power is dissolving like mist, and before you my promise is rising like dawn. And though some will marvel at how suddenly the strong become feeble, how quickly the loud become silent, how rapidly the threat becomes nothing, you will know it is my hand at work, striking down what sustained them so that nothing remains to fuel their resistance, and you will walk in the security of knowing that you are not simply escaping but outlasting, not simply surviving but surpassing, not simply breaking free but watching their power melt away until it is only a memory. And this knowledge will steady your heart, sharpen your focus, and strengthen your resolve. For my hand has acted, their strength is withering, and nothing can restore what I have removed. And now, as the power of your oppressors dissolves behind you like smoke in the wind, step forward with expectation, because you are entering a span of time unlike anything you have experienced before, a moment where my activity within you will be so visible, so unmistakable, so weighty, that even the most hardened skeptic will be unable to question it, and every area of your life will begin to radiate evidence of my involvement. Your words carrying authority beyond your own experience, your actions opening opportunities that no resume could produce, your presence shifting atmospheres in rooms where you were once ignored, your influence multiplying in ways you never planned. For I am clothing you in an undeniable imprint of my presence, marking you with signs that cannot be faked, surrounding you with favor that cannot be counterfeited, and the results will speak louder than any announcement you could make, because doors will open without introductions, resources will appear without campaigns, solutions will emerge without struggle, and those who once dismissed you as irrelevant will be forced to confront the reality of my hand upon you, and their disbelief will not have the power to obscure what I am manifesting, for the work I am doing will not be hidden in corners or whispered in secret. It will be displayed in the open, on platforms you never imagined, in circles you never entered, across boundaries you never crossed, and you will stand as a living demonstration of my power to transform, elevate, and establish. And this is not so you boast, but so that others who have waited, who have prayed, who have hoped in silence may see what I can do with a life yielded to me. And as this visibility increases, do not shrink back out of false humility. Do not hide the fruit of my work. Do not apologize for the acceleration, because the evidence is not for vanity but for testimony. It is not to exalt your name but to exalt mine. It is not to inflate your ego but to inspire the weary that I am still moving in the earth. And this season will be marked by an ease of demonstration. Where before you had to labor to convince, now results will convince for you. Where before you had to argue to be heard, now favor will open ears before you speak. Where before you had to plead for opportunities, now opportunities will plead for you to accept them, because my hand upon you will be so clear that no one can credibly deny it, and the very people who once criticized you will begin to quote you. The very institutions that once excluded you will invite you. The very environments that once felt hostile will shift to accommodate what I am birthing through you, and even as this unfolds you will remain anchored. For I am shaping your character to carry visibility without corruption, to hold influence without arrogance, to remain humble without hiding, and your daily life will become a signpost to others, a living proclamation that when I decide to move through a person, nothing can stop it, nothing can disguise it, nothing can silence it, and even your quiet obedience will carry impact, even your hidden preparation will produce public fruit, even your unseen sacrifices will release visible reward, because I am establishing you as a testimony not just in words but in substance, and this is why I have refined you so deeply, why I have prepared you so thoroughly, why I have protected you so fiercely, because this is the hour when what I do through you will stand in the open like a city on a hill, a lamp that cannot be covered, a sign that cannot be erased, and no voice, no system, no power will be able to deny that it is I, the Lord your God, working through you in undeniable ways. And as you stand in this undeniable season where my hand upon you cannot be questioned, prepare yourself to witness something even greater, for the very outcomes they once declared unattainable, the visions they labeled unrealistic, the prayers they mocked as fantasy, I am now shaping into concrete reality before your eyes, and their disbelief will become your stage of demonstration, because what was only a picture inside your spirit will now take form in your surroundings. What was only whispered hope will now become living proof. What was once treated as a dream will now stand as a solid structure you can touch, walk in, and steward. And you will watch the astonishment ripple outward as people who once dismissed you are confronted with results they cannot explain, results that break every rule they relied on, results that unfold beyond natural timing or ordinary strategy. For I am a God who delights in turning the impossible into a testimony that transforms hearts. And in this hour I am unveiling things so clearly that no one can say it was coincidence. No one can reduce it to luck. No one can credit it to human effort, because the scale, timing, and precision of what I do will be unmistakably divine. And you must walk into this manifestation without shrinking, because I am not revealing these wonders for spectacle but for stewardship, not for vanity but for purpose, not for fleeting attention but for enduring impact. And as each seemingly impossible thing appears before you, know that it is also a signal to others who are watching from the shadows, those who have quietly believed yet doubted if belief matters, those who have almost surrendered their faith under pressure. And your life will stand as living evidence that waiting is not wasted, faith is not foolish, trust is not naive, and my promises do not fail. And even as these impossibilities turn visible, remain rooted, because manifestation does not mean completion but commencement. It marks the start of a greater assignment to carry what I have entrusted to you with integrity, wisdom, and courage, and you will see how what appears before your eyes now is larger than your original prayer, deeper than your first expectation, broader than your limited view, because while you thought you were asking for a single answer, I was preparing an ecosystem of breakthrough that spans generations, territories, and purposes you have not yet imagined, and this unveiling will not come slowly but in waves, one after another, like curtains pulled back to reveal stage after stage, and you will hardly have time to absorb one before another rises, because I am making visible the things you once thought would take a lifetime, compressing years into moments, turning decades of hope into days of realization. And your posture must shift from striving to receiving, from doubting to embracing, from surviving to stewarding, because the impossible has crossed into the realm of now, and as it becomes visible before you, your voice will carry new weight, your presence new authority, your story new power, because people will not only hear but see, not only imagine but touch, not only consider but experience, and many will be drawn to me because of what they witness through you, for I am writing a narrative so unusual that it will serve as a lighthouse for countless souls lost in despair, a signal that I still move, I still answer, I still transform, I still redeem. And as you behold with your own eyes the very things they called impossible, you will realize that nothing was wasted, no moment of trust was in vain, no tear was ignored, and you will stand surrounded by realities that were once only visions, living inside the manifestation of promises once laughed at, because I have chosen this time to make visible what once was invisible, to prove that my word cannot fail, and to demonstrate through your life that impossibility is only a stage for my glory. And as the very things once called impossible now stand visible before you, know this truth that I am declaring over you with power. Your name, which they tried to erase from memory, Your identity, which they attempted to cover with shame, your reputation, which they sought to bury under falsehoods and mockery, is now being raised higher than they ever imagined, for I myself am lifting it beyond the reach of slander, beyond the grasp of jealousy, beyond the manipulation of systems that tried to keep you hidden. And once I raise a name, nothing in creation can pull it down again. No hand can drag it into the dirt. No tongue can smear it with lies that endure. No power can bury what I have chosen to elevate. And you will see the same voices that once whispered your downfall now forced to mention your rising, the same circles that once closed you out now compelled to acknowledge your presence, the same environments that tried to suffocate your identity now being used as the very platforms that display it. For I am making your name a testimony of vindication, not because of pride or vanity but because of the evidence that I honor those who trust in me. And I am not merely reviving what they tried to bury. I am exalting it far above where it stood before, setting it in places where their reach cannot extend, establishing it in atmospheres where their schemes cannot survive, anchoring it in favor that cannot be stolen. And this is the assurance I give you. While man may try to label, to silence, to discard, their efforts are nothing when I have decreed elevation, and the season you are walking into will reveal that my lifting is final, my exaltation irreversible, my decision unshakable, and the same ground they used to cover your name will be the soil from which I cause it to sprout forth in greater honor. For every attempt to bury you only planted you deeper into my purpose. And now the roots that grew in silence will push forth fruit in public, fruit so abundant that no voice can deny it, no critic can cancel it, no adversary can spoil it, and you will realize that this is not just about your personal vindication but about the testimony of my power, for through your name being lifted I will demonstrate that I defend my own. I honor my faithful ones. I raise up those who were humbled. I display my glory through those who endured. And this elevation will be visible not only in titles or positions but in impact, in reach, in authority, in influence that cannot be contained, and people will call on you where they once ignored you, seek you where they once rejected you, follow you where they once ridiculed you, because my hand upon your name will be undeniable, and as this unfolds you must carry humility, knowing it is not your strength but mine, not your striving but my decree, not your defense but my vindication. And this humility will keep you anchored as I continue to raise you higher. And with urgency I remind you now, do not fear their attempts, for they will try again with words, they will try again with envy, they will try again with plots, but none of it will succeed, because I have said your name shall not be pulled down again. I have sealed it in favor. I have anchored it in heaven's record. I have stamped it with my authority, and my word concerning you cannot be overturned. For this is the time where your name, once buried, now rises like a banner, shining with glory, carried by my spirit, untouchable by their hands, irreversible by their plans, unshakable by their efforts. And as you step forward with your head lifted, know that this moment is a sign that every shame has been covered, every accusation silenced, every burial reversed, and your name shines because of me, and nothing will stop it again. Amen.